All right, Cheryl. So you have the whole board here, myself, Michelle Lamatina, June O'Leary, Ron Rock, Kevin Callahan, and Lisa Green's also here as well. Um, Basically what we have is a set of questions, same questions we asked of all the other candidates too, so there's nothing different. Um, Michelle, do you have any notes that you want to give us beforehand, or are we good?
We're good.
All right. All right, Cheryl, you're up. Here we go.
All right. I'm
All right.
ready.
First question is, what is your understanding of the recreation director position?
My understanding for the position is to pretty much maintain and organize the schedule of the public and private areas and parks, buildings. I know some of the sports teams generally reach out to the recreation department to schedule on fields. I know Ollie did the July 4th celebration, Christmas, tried to put together the Christmas for the town hall and maintain the pool. Created the various programs for summer programs, school vacation programs. Outside of that, don't know if there was anything else he did or what else would be included in the description.
Well, you've pretty much hit most of it. We have a car show that Lisa's involved with. We have the July 4th. Obviously, that didn't happen this year. Most didn't happen this year. But the pool, the park, we do try to do things for the holidays for the town, and just try to get as involved as possible. So as we go through this, you'll see that there's a potential for being a little bit more, but we'll just continue right on. The next question would be, why would you be interested in a part-time job?
For me, it's more of the ability. I have 3 kids within Whitman Hanson School District. So I have one going into 2nd grade, one going into 6th grade, and one graduating on Friday.
Congratulations.
Oh, thanks. For me, it's the flexibility. I've been working part-time since last January. Prior to that, I was enrolled in school while the kids were in school. So it gives me that flexibility, and with my home, I'm not required or need to actually work full-time. So it's just more of a convenience and flexibility for me.
Okay. The next question is a 3-part question. What is your experience in managing municipal recreation, operating a park program, and operating a pool program?
Well, my actual experience for any of those would be none, really. For me, it's more of my knowledge and experience with event planning, program planning. I currently do a lot of fundraising. I started, when my oldest son was about 7. So I've always done holiday fairs, book fairs for schools. I was on the PTO for many years. My current job that I have now is a development associate. So I work for a nonprofit and write grants. I am organizing the Falmouth Road Race, which this year went virtual.
Mm-hmm.
We plan an annual gala. So a lot of the programming and event planning, putting things together, the organization of things, that's where my skill set comes from, including that of being able to reach out to various places within the community to get people together and partner up with whatever the cause or organization may be that I'm working with at the time.
Okay. Which is most of us.
Yes.
So the next one is another 3-part question. What is your experience in managing municipal recreation? Oh, sorry. No. How do you address workplace conflict, complaints from public, and personal conflict experience. So we can go to the first part to make just, we could start there if you want. How do you address workplace conflict?
For me, that's more of head on. It's, I really don't try and beat around the bush. I try to be pretty direct. I think that's always the best way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to, you know, explain my point of view, listening to the other person's point of view, and trying to come to a common ground where it's a good experience for everyone involved.
Okay. Um, and then, because we do get them sometimes, the complaints from the public.
I think that comes from everywhere. um, I really think it depends on what the complaint would be. If it's something on policy and procedure, obviously you really can't do anything on that. I think it's more of being able to talk to the person, figuring out what their issue is,
Right.
and how, the best way that you can resolve that within the box or frame that you're required to work within.
Okay. And then personal conflict experience.
Personal conflict experience. I've had some issues, being in the various positions that I have, whether it's, fundraising on a PTO or some kind of event. And I think it's really more of just being able to work with that person and putting the personal feelings aside to get the job done and to make it a success for everyone. I think when you let the personal emotions in the middle, it just muddles things and makes it more difficult to manage and work with people.
Agreed. Okay. Next one is, do you have any experience scheduling field usage?
That I do not.
Okay.
Scheduling, yes, but scheduling field usage, no.
But you have handled scheduling.
Scheduling of volunteers for an event, scheduling of course, my family. Every event that you end up putting on or every program that you put together, you're given a schedule. You have a start and a finish and everything that's in between. There's so many different deadlines, so many different people that you have to reach out to, sign contracts, have, payments made. So all of that is what I'm familiar with.
Yeah, just to be fair, just so you would know, is scheduling comes in many ways for field use here. We have different tiers in a field usage agreement. First you allow the town teams to schedule first, then we try to see what's open from there, and we try to fill those time slots as best we can with, AAUs or what have you. It depends on which sport, which field we're talking about, but town comes first, and then we try to plug in the blanks as best we can.
That would make sense.
So our next question is, what is your view of Whitman's recreation program, or what do you expect it to be?
Well, I can tell you the summer program, my kids loved it. Although we've never used the pool, I've actually only been in Whitman for 4 years now. I think it could be a lot more. I come from Rockland, which has a pretty robust recreational program. So I could see a lot of different possibilities in expansions for families as far as, sports, not just the sports teams, but there's a lot of instructional places or instructional sports that could be helpful to parents and kids that just want to do something maybe part-time and not necessarily on a full out sports team. I know it's been obviously pretty quiet with COVID-19 and a lot of it is outside now. So I'm sure, the vacation programs would be pretty limited if they needed to be indoors. Um, I just think that there's a lot of opportunity for growth and expansion a little bit at a time, though. And I think one thing that I have definitely learned is that some people aren't always open to change. And so if you do a little bit at a time, then it can be a lot more beneficial for everyone.
Um, how do you see yourself balancing out the allotted hours over the fiscal year? And Lisa, just correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure the allotted hours are 936 hours. Lisa, you're muted.
Yes, 936 hours is correct.
Okay, thank you.
So 936.
Now, realizing that the majority of your hours would mostly be in the summer, I think we had said we really pick up, Michelle, we pick up basically in March.
I think we said March would be busy because of all the scheduling of the fields, and then it would kind of settle down a little, but starting getting word out about summer programs, and then summer would be busy. And then once we head into fall, we typically do, a Halloween event, a Christmas event, and then really there's nothing. I think we only did winter camps. We didn't do over Christmas, maybe February and April.
Yeah, I know I've seen the February and April camps. I don't think there was anything for December.
Yeah.
So like a lot of the majority of the hours are really spent from March to about September. But like Michelle said, we have even Lisa, the car show, a few things that we do, Halloween, or we try to do, I should say, Halloween, Christmas, or whatever. So just so you kind of had a background on what we anticipate. Then what would your allotted hours be after that?
You mean what would the schedule look like between?
Well, so how do you see yourself balancing out the allotted hours over the fiscal year?
Obviously,
136 hours. Most of it's going to be, spring, summer.
yeah, I think for me, it would be making sure that everything is at least all set for the spring into summer. I think that sounds like where majority of the hours are spent. Even if, we did March, April, May, June, July. I mean, if you broke it down by number of weeks and hours, if you're looking at, let's say, an average of maybe 30 hours a week, I think in any position or with any job, even, for now, I think people end up doing a little bit outside of what the allotted time is on their own time, or at least I find that I do, which is probably not always a great thing. But, if you looked at it number of hours wise, I would definitely focus more on the spring and summer where it would go. I mean, if you're looking at 3/4 of the hours at that point, and then the other quarter is used between October and February. I think that would almost make sense in my head if I'm just kind of going by the cuff here.
Nope, that's okay. Yeah, it's a tough question. That's why I kind of wanted to give you some insight as to, when we're generally busy. All right, we'll move on to the next one. What are your thoughts on an adult recreation program?
I think that would be great. You have a a lot of seniors, a lot of adults out there that don't have the opportunity to get together in social gatherings, whether it's a cribbage game or a yoga class or, a painting or whatever it is. Yeah, I have my mom in a 55 plus community, and I see the struggle that a lot of her and her friends have in getting out to be able to do things. So I definitely think there's always that opportunity. And I think it's great that we have the Council on Aging in town here. It's always one great resource that we could tap into, or if it hasn't been done already, to kind of partner with them and see what their, individuals that go there are interested in to get that going.
All right. Next question is, what is your greatest accomplishment?
For me, my greatest accomplishment would have been going to school full time while I have 3 kids. I went to get my associate's degree, started about 3 years ago, and got it within the 2 years. And at that time, I, was pretty much a stay-at-home mom. I did a little bit of here and there in real estate. But once I got out into the development associate position with the nonprofit that I work with, I came to realize that I have so much more that I could do than what I am doing, which is one of the reasons that, I applied for the recreation director position. I may not have a lot of business experience, but I think my experience comes more from life experience and working in the different areas that I have already.
Okay. Now we go to the flip side.
Sure.
What is your greatest failure?
My greatest failure.
Yeah, you might not have one, says June.
That's a tough one.
If you don't have one, it's okay.
No, I mean, Mike, I wouldn't say, I could tell you what a weakness is, maybe not necessarily what a greatest failure is.
Sure.
I don't necessarily think of anything as being a failure, only because you always learn from that experience. You'll always walk away with, oh, I could have done it this way, or I could have changed this. So for me, I don't necessarily look at it that way. One of the weaknesses that I've always tried to work better on is professional writing, actually. Like I mentioned, doing a lot of grant writing is great, but I'm also one that's very direct, and I don't necessarily go out of my way to sugarcoat everything, but I know when it's appropriate to do that. So I wouldn't necessarily say anything is a failure, because you definitely just learn from it and take something away from it always.
Good answer. All right, we have 2 questions left.
Okay.
What is your availability in the daytime, the evening, and the weekends?
As far as my availability goes, I'm pretty flexible. I have great support to help out with my kids. We have babysitters. My husband works from home sometimes. So my availability, I can start as early as 9 in the morning. I can, work as late as 10, 11 o'clock at night.
Okay.
Being in the position of planning events with the nonprofit, I could be working in the office for, you know, a 9 to 5, but I could be working a road race for an entire weekend or working a gala from 7 in the morning to midnight. I think in planning anything, the flexibility is always key, and that's something that I've been able to have on my side at least.
All right. Last one. Is there a particular period of time when you don't think you are available, whether it be a weekend or time of day or school vacation weeks?
No, there's nothing that we have, you know, planned. Like we don't plan a vacation for any particular week or any particular holiday. For me, it's always been able to have my work come around and work around the schedule that I have. So if, let's say, we want to go away to New Hampshire for a weekend, as long as I don't have anything coming up on the schedule, then that's okay. I think with today's technology, there's always obviously remote and Zoom meetings. Working in real estate, I was able to do a lot of that without actually having to be on site somewhere. So for me, there isn't any one particular time that I wouldn't be available.
Okay. Do you have any questions for us?
I know that there is, or there appears to be, an office at the town hall. Is that correct?
Yes, there is. It's down in the basement.
Is that used by the recreational director? How has that worked in the past?
Yeah, so our previous director had a desk there with the computer, phone, the whole works. We also have our table there for our board when we have our board meetings. It's a fairly big room for the board. I know our past director spent a lot of time down there. Lisa, the phone in the office also goes right to the cell phone as well, right? That will ring through.
Sorry about that. Yeah, you can twine the phone extension there so that will ring directly to your cell phone.
Okay.
Yep, so no matter what, they can reach you.
They could do that. They could do that when I worked in real estate. I did that for 8 years, and people will call you at 6 a.m. and 11 o'clock at night. And so I think I have the time blocking skills and things that I've had to do in the past, which I've been able to manage family life, work, and everything else, and make everyone happy and get everything done. Now, what about as far as reaching out to the community, companies, businesses? Has there been any thought from the recreation department as far as writing for grants and different foundations? Because that's a huge piece that could be looked at.
That's something that we've spoken about quite significantly. I know June O'Leary has done a lot of that in the past, but nothing has been done recently.
Okay. And as far as partnerships in the community, I mean, how does that really work with the recreation department in the past?
Partnerships with like the other organizations.
Whether it be organizations or a business for sponsorship or kind of the whole give and take, helping out each other relationship that you would try and have with some of the big companies in town.
Over the past few years, it's been, I can't say it was obsolete, it was limited, but there have been some relationships out there, whether it be with the print company to get flyers out, or there's been a few relationships, but that's something that we're always looking to build on as well.
Yeah, like Joe, I can just speak on that a tiny bit.
Mhm.
we have like a relationship with Busy Bee because we rent equipment from them and they give us a good discount and, you know, things like that. And a couple other like vendors we've used for events that might give us a little bit of a break or things like that. And then I think throwing it back to Lisa, we do have to be careful with donations and money and things. Like we can't solicit donations from companies because of our guidelines, right? Like we
Right.
have funds that our money comes from the town and we can raise funds through, like I know last year we had, and I might be getting too much into this, but to give you a little better idea, last year when we did like or maybe it was the year before, the Halloween, the Easter, Christmas, we can put like donations accepted, but we can't charge an admission. So there's some guidelines there with what you can and can't do with like, you know, asking Dunkin' Donuts to give you $500 to run an event. I don't think we can really do things like that. But that's all stuff that probably needs to be, you know, revisited to see where our guidelines stand. We generate revenue from the park program, the pool program, the rental of the fields that Joe talked about, which this year is a little obsolete. So we definitely, moving forward with COVID and all that, we'll have to find new and interesting ways to see what we can even do.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Right.
Or is that right on the funding part? Lisa?
I'm sorry?
Sorry, so was I a little correct on the funding part? We
Right.
can't,
Yeah. You know, we have to be very careful with approaching any businesses in town with asking them for donations directly. You know, we can run fundraisers like the car show that we run. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to be able to happen this year because of the COVID, and the Board of Health will not give their blessing on it. But when we run a car show that people pay admission to get into, it's a small fee. It's like $15 for the or $15 for a family. The show cars will pay $10 to get in. And we join forces with Dollars for Scholars for that, and they bring in raffles. And they also, then people will donate to the raffles as long as they know that all the money is going towards the recreation. But as far as soliciting donations directly to recreation without like funneling it through a fundraiser type of event, we have to be very careful with the Ethics Commission with that.
Sorry, I got kicked off.
I understand that part. I guess my question is could or has the Recreation Department reached out to companies and businesses to help sponsor a particular event per se? So
Yeah.
let's say the July 4th, so you can go for sponsorships for particular things and it's not necessarily classified or considered a donation.
Yeah, you know, for when we have the car show, Ollie did reach out to, say, McLaughlin Chevrolet, some other companies who did donate. They did sponsor some of the trophies and the dash blacks that we had. So something like that can be done, yes.
Okay. That's good.
Sorry, Joe. I'm sorry, I got kicked out. I got myself back in. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, thanks.
I think that's pretty much it as far as questions that I have. I mean, I'm sure there would be more if I were offered the position, but I, certainly don't have to get into all those questions that have been running in my head. So.
Okay. So we'll go around to our board just to see if anyone has any questions for you. Michelle?
The only question I did ask the other two candidates were, do you have any, from knowing that your kids are involved or somewhat of what the rec department does, do you have any new ideas off the top of your head that you would like to see happen?
I think for me, I haven't seen a whole lot of opportunities consistently. I think that's a part that I would try and focus on is just having more experiences, whether it's a drama piece or an art piece or, runners club. I think there's a group that does something at the high school on the track, or at least they did last year, maybe.
Mhm.
I think there's always room for that. And it's always, I guess the reason I asked about partnerships is, we have so many gymnastic places around and dance schools around and local artists who can become part of offering those classes and services to the community through the recreation department. Even the adult classes, partnering with a yoga studio or, slash a YMCA. I think all those opportunities are there.
Okay, great. That's all I had.
Okay, Ron,
I'm good.
Kevin,
I'm all set. I have no questions.
Michelle, is June still there with you?
June, do you have any questions?
No, I don't, and I'm sure Joe is glad I don't. No, but everything sounds like it went well.
Yep.
Okay. Well, Lisa, do you have anything you want
No, I'm all set, Joe. Thank you.
to? Okay. Cheryl, thank you very much for bearing with us.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Have a great rest of your night.
You, it's where Michelle had mentioned interviewing other candidates. Do you have a time frame of when you guys might be making a decision or letting us know? I know the job opened, months ago, and given everything, things were put on hold, so I wasn't sure what the procedure is that you guys have in mind going forward.
So what we're planning to do is our next board meeting, we're going to sit down and discuss all candidates again.
Okay.
You're our last interview. So in fairness, we'll bring ourselves back up to date with the other two candidates who did it months ago and discuss all three options.
Okay.
And we got to just settle on an actual date. We haven't quite landed it. We were talking about it earlier, but we haven't quite landed it just yet. I would think within the next couple of weeks, though, would be fair to say.
Okay. Perfect.
But one way or the other, we'll definitely make sure we reach out to you, just so you're not standing in the wind waiting for some sort of an answer.
Well, Joe, we do know that everything is a fluid situation these days.
Yes.
In these unprecedented times.
This is true.
How many times have we heard that saying? So yeah. Absolutely. Thank you, though.
I appreciate you calling in and taking the time with us tonight.
You're welcome. Thanks,
you.
guys.
Thank you.
Cheryl.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Yep.
Very good.
Yep. Okay.
And-
She June.
Michelle, thank you so much for doing this. I'm going to hang up now. I thought it went very well, and I thank you for doing this. I did find out there's something wrong with my line. My Alexa doesn't even work, so
Oh gosh.
there's something out there.
Okay. Do you want to?
Anyway.
Can you hold on for a few minutes? We're just going to try to, I think, discuss the next date and how
Okay.
Joe wants to move forward with this. So let's.
Yeah, I know. He's got a baseball game that he'd love to see, too.
Yeah. So we'll wrap this up in about 2 minutes. Joe, go.
Okay, sure.
All right. So I just think that the next thing we should do is focus on our next meeting. Michelle and I were talking a little bit earlier about it, and we were looking at August 10th and going back to 7 p.m. so that, everyone can get home from work on time. Right, Kevin?
Yep. 7 o'clock.
Correct. Yeah, that'd be good.
June, August
It's been
10th,
it's
7
been
o'clock.
pretty good though.
As far as I know
August 10th.
now, that's okay.
Okay.
And if Joe, if you call me with the numbers again,
Yep.
but this thing just said you cannot connect,
Okay, no worries.
and then it shut off on me, and I'm sorry to cause the fuss, but I thank you, Michelle, for doing that.
Yeah, don't worry about it. No big deal.
Okay, August 10th at 7.
Yep.
10th at 7. Ron, does that work for you?
That works for me, yes.
Okay. And Kevin, August 10th at 7 is good for you?
August 10th at 7 is good with me. Thank you.
Okay. So I just think that, on that, we discussed before fall sports. We probably should kind of get into the fall sports and then most likely have our conversation about our candidates and then hopefully even select our candidate at that point.
How many candidates do we have left?
We have 3 total, June. 2 backed out.
Okay.
So the 2 original from the first interviews, and then Cheryl was the 3rd.
That's Brian
Yep, and Kathleen.
and Kathy.
Yep.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you very much. And I'm sorry this doesn't work, but I'm hoping to find somebody to take care of this mess for me soon. But
June, I will be over. I'll be over. I promise. I'll be
Kevin will be
you can't do that.
I'll get you.
You don't
I
have
can. I'll be over.
to do communal and social distance. Don't worry about it. I'll find a way to get around this. But thank you, everybody, and I'll talk with you before the next meeting.
Okay.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
June.
Michelle.
Okay. All right. Bye.
That is
Okay, she's off.
okay.
Okay,
Right.
so just real quick, August 10th, 7 p.m., we're going to discuss fall sports, the candidates, and candidates for position. Anything else? Because I have to put agenda items.
Well, do we want to put in there decision for candidate selection?
Sure. Okay.
Hey, Joe, I got a question.
I might have an
Are
answer.
they going? I just didn't know if they were going back to phase 2. I saw a sign coming home, something about no going out of state August 1st. I'm just not sure. I didn't check the webpage, but
So
when I get home, I'm going to check the web.
what I've heard is just if you go out of state, it's a mandatory quarantine now for 14 days.
Okay. All right. So we're still okay going forward with everything then. All right.
As of right now.
Okay. Good.
All right, somebody want to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn.
I'll make.
Sorry, Kevin.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor, here we go around the table. Michelle,
Aye.
Ron,
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
and myself. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Lisa.
Welcome.
you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thanks, Lisa.